Hello, it's Jelly here from Chi Lifestyle. Okay, I've had a feeling that, or a desire, should I say, to do a reading on the coronavirus. Okay, I'm sure you all are swamped with different posts on social media. I see there's just a lot of fighting, different people's opinion on lockdown. There's a lot of conspiracy theories running around, and I've even been swooped up in one or two of them. And I started to feel, maybe a little bit annoyed, a little bit irritated, and decided to, turn to spirit and go to the source and pray on it, meditate it, and ask them, for some answers. So maybe for some of those of you that are maybe interested, here's my take, and I repeat, my take. Please don't quote me on any of this. This is just a reading that I felt like I needed to do. So my question was obviously, what is happening with this virus? Why is it here? What's it here to teach us? What can we expect? And, what is the outcome? So the first card that came up, which was quite interesting, was the Lovers card. Okay, so our current situation is the Lovers. So what the Lovers card teaches us is that obviously this virus is to teach us, again, to remember our loved ones. It's teaching us a sense of community, a sense of reaching out to others, and in many ways, just to bring us all together again. It reminds us a lot about love. As you can see, this is like an Adam and Eve moment, and they're both naked. So it's also very much a card of being very vulnerable. You're vulnerable to what's going on, to the people around you. You start to realize, there's a lot of fear around you. You've also got, there's like the snake from Adam and Eve around the apple tree on the one side, which is also very much about the forbidden, wanting to maybe go against the rules at the moment, the forbidden garden. So it's making wrong choices, and we've made a lot of wrong choices along the way. Okay, we've basically taken a lot of our decisions in life have just been wrong. So, for example, this is bringing us back to our families. I mean, I'm not here to say that money is evil, please. I don't agree with that. People say money is the sources of all evil. No, but greed is. Okay. And some of us, not all of us, have been, fairly greedy, and we don't do it purposely, but, it's in the sense of constantly having the need for material things, or, big houses and fancy cars and boats and this and. And we forget that one of the reasons why we should be working is more for the sense of love. Okay. We also sometimes forget to give. We've come to a part in our lives where we just so self-focused and career-focused and money-focused that we sometimes forget about our loved ones. There's been a lot of fantastic stories that this has obviously brought about, with people who are, reaching out to community. People are getting praise, doctors, nurses, the praise that's been given to them. We've seen others out there for who they are. People are also starting to remember very much about the elderly. I mean, one sad factor that's humanity has become is very ignorant when it comes to the elderly, and we've treated them very poorly. In the past, many of us have had our parents or grandparents in old age homes, and this is not for everyone, obviously, but they often get left and forgotten about. And so now it kind of reminds you, have you checked up on your mom? Have you checked up on your dad? Have you, because they are very, very vulnerable, if you think about it in that sense, because they know that they have the higher chance of dying if they contact the the virus. It also gets you very aware of the fact that your parents might be a little bit more vulnerable to the virus, and so therefore, people may be becoming a little bit more aware. Shops are opening up earlier times to allow the elderly, to go in first, and people are just becoming more sensitive to others. I've read really a lot of wonderful stories of people, reaching out to other people, to trying to see where they can help. I've seen a lot of communities going out and feeding the street people, putting up tents. People are just caring again. Okay. So that's a really good positive as to why it's here. Okay. I then pulled the Justice card. Okay, so the Justice has two meanings. Some people see it as a karmic balance, and other people just see it as people getting what they just deserve, or justice being done. Okay, I needed to clarify it just to before I say the wrong thing, and I got the Eight of Wands in reverse. Okay, so I think we can expect the virus to, yes, it's going to bring a lot of balance to the world. We're definitely going to see a lot more, balanced, within our life, within our community. But it's a card of the Eight of Wands is a card of, it's a victory card, but it's also one of, you can see that a man's very triumphant. He's had a lot of achievements in his life, and he's a little bit boastful of his achievements. In reverse, it's starting to, it kind of takes him off his high horse, if that makes any sense. So I think that in this context, it's saying that, this virus, as you can see, it affects everyone. It doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor. I mean, royalty have even been, affected by the virus. We've got prime ministers and, just a whole lot. And it really takes people down a notch. And once again, it's bringing people more down to earth. It's balancing the need for, the really rich as opposed to the really poor. And people are starting to, lose companies, lose businesses. I know of a business, and obviously I won't mention the business name, but it was quite a sad story because it started out with an owner that he had started this business from his garage, and he wasn't, he had, very little money, and he started off with fairly nothing. And he grew that business to such a successful business. Well, that business just crashed, and it's actually quite sad because he lost complete control of his baby. It expanded and expanded and expanded, and eventually went on the stock market, and and the control just boomed. And then next minute you knew, boom, 10 years later, the company has now folded. And it's a very, very real realization right now that a lot of these big people have been completely taken down by this virus. There's chain stores closing down left, right, and center. And this is really and truly going to have a huge impact on all of us, actually. The Empress, so this is in the position of the hidden meanings behind all this. And the Empress is very much what reminds me of Mother Nature. Okay, she is the goddess of beauty and birth. And once again, to me, she is Mother Earth. And so the hidden aspects, and I'm sure we've all seen the videos of a beach that was once taken up by people and fishermen are now taken up by dolphins that are playing in the shores. We've seen photos of the canals and how the sharks are going through there. Mother Nature's really having a rebirth. Okay, she is quite happy that us terrible humans are locked away, and she's rebuilding. Okay, so before you feel really overwhelmed, just think of the beauty and of how Mother Nature's just having a bit of a break from us, and allowing the earth to rebuild. Again, our greed has been, we drill oil, we're sucking out the nutrients from our earth. We've had earthquakes, we don't listen. We've had massive fires, we don't listen. We've had locusts. we're just not listening. Okay, so now it's like, well, guess what? I've seen a lot of the comments, and it's funny, but it's true. We've all been sent to our rooms to think about what we've done. Well, this is exactly it. We've all been sent home. Goodbye. I'm now going to take over, and I'm going to force you guys away. So understand, again, there is a lot of good in what's coming out. I know the advice I got a few. I had to clarify as well because, okay, so again, this is the Five of Cups. So this is us not seeing the good. Okay, so we're all focused on the bad. We're looking at the cups being spilt, the blood being spilt, the illnesses, the deaths. You can see there's even like literal blood being spilled out of that cup there. So we're so focused on the illness, the deaths. I mean, how many people have died? How many people have got it? I mean, you have all seen the social media. You've always got that one person who's constantly updating you as to how many people have died and how many people, you know, are infected, blah, blah, blah. But we missing the opportunities of what's still here. Okay, so yes, 3 cups have, you know, thing. And you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are deaths, and there's going to be a lot more deaths before, you know, through all the predictions that I've looked at, we are hitting the peak this month. This is where the majority of the deaths are going to happen. Between the months of March and April, we're going to have the highest death rates. You will start to see a decline from May onwards. Okay, so from May until June, that's when all the predictions are saying that things will go down. Okay, but yes, there is going to be spilled blood. There is going to be financial loss. There is going to be a lot of hardships coming out of this. But the advice from the advice pile is to look at the cups remaining. Okay. Again, here's another advice, which is be careful how this stress is going to affect you. Okay. That there could end up being more of a deadly thing to you, because stress makes you more susceptible to getting sick. Okay. So watch your anxiety. Because yes, a judgment call will be done. So this is Judgment Day, and no, I don't mean the end of the world Judgment Day, but it is judgment. The end of the world it's going to be the end of the world as you know it. So the sooner you accept that, the easier it will be for you. When you leave your homes and everyone starts going back to work, things are never going to be the same. This world is never going to be the same again. Okay, so yes, we are hitting a Judgment Day. You are being called to rise up. You've been called to ascend to a higher level. Okay, ascend to better people. Don't go back to the past. Okay, and this is the virus that will eventually, you know, it's right now everything's in choppy waters, but eventually you see things are smoother. Okay, so this is the ship taking, you know, these sad people with all the swords and all the mental clarity and baggage and horrible things that have come through, and they're moving away from the bad into the good. Okay, so that's exactly like this virus. It will eventually move us into the good. Okay, but again, you know, that's the advice from the universe, and that is very much take this time to think about that. Let's not focus on the sad cups. Let's focus on the good things, and let's try and remember all the lessons that this is going to bring us, so that we are not hit with a additional virus, because that's what's actually going to happen if we don't stop and listen. God is speaking very clearly. You know, this is his judgment. Please listen, pray, be in spirit at the moment. Okay, let's not listen to the snake. Okay, here's your snake again. This is your snake on the side here, hissing, you know, all the bad news, all the bad vibes, all the bad things. Listen to God's good news about this. Okay, so the outcome was quite interesting. So here we have 3 feminine energies. Okay, we have the High Priestess. Now the High Priestess is that very much of listening to your intuition, going deep within. But it's also one of finding out a truth. Okay, so it's saying that information, you know, this could be information that's being hidden, or something is about to come out. Okay, there's going to be a flow of energies and consciousness that's possibly going to come out with all of this. Okay, a secret will be revealed, or new information will come through. Okay, which I think is where things will help us out. We also have the Queen of Swords. So I'm very interested to see, and obviously, you know, we'll soon find out. I think that there's going to be a feminine leader that may come forward, because the Queen of Swords is someone who she's female, but she's someone who doesn't take nonsense. This is a very mature, observant woman. She's someone who's very cool in a crisis. She looks at arguments. She looks at both sides of the story, and she cuts through the bullshit, if you kind of want to put it. There's her sword, and she rules. What you see is what you get, is the way that she rules. And then we've got the Nine of Pentacles, which is very much the energy of an independent woman who creates her own money and creates her own time. Look, I think with that card as well, that's very much going to tell us that what we might find, especially with all these businesses closing, that it's going to open a lot more doors of opportunities. And maybe this is also, your intuition telling you that, cut through all the crap and the bullshit and find ways to become more independent. Because, again, there's going to be less jobs. There's going to be resources might be lower. People are going to have to, once again, figure out new ways of surviving. That might even be going to go and grow your own fruit and vegetables, growing, finding ways. I mean, look, a lot of people want to, get back at China and this whole instance of saying, that they don't want to work with them anymore and import. Well, then, you know what? We have to get our resources from somewhere. So where the markets might be low, someone else will creep in. And you will find us becoming more self-sufficient. So our own countries developing our own stuff. I know, for example, at the moment we were looking for material, and the material shops are quite low when it comes to material, which I found was quite shocking. And then I realized, because of all the Chinese trade, most people can't even sew something at the price that the Chinese shops can sell it. So maybe this is an opportunity to once again get, material back in and, create things ourselves. If you're finding the massive clothing shops are closing down, well, then that's an in for someone who can sew. When food is becoming a limited resource, then it's time for us to go back to making it. I mean, I made home mayonnaise yesterday. First thing, big flop. Second round, perfect. And you go back to the wholesomeness, going back to having farmers markets where you can go and buy fresh produce from people, and homemade goods and homemade stuff. There's definite ways, and you need to once again stop looking at the spilled cups and look at the cups. Become more of the independent woman. Create your own resources, create your own money, your own wealth. But yes, okay. So that was my take. Let me know down below your thoughts, and I will see you later on in the week.